The Bikeriders is the newest film from Jeff Nichols, stars the likes of Jodie Comer, Austin Butler, Tom Hardy, Michael Shannon, Mike Faist, and my God, do I want to talk about it. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back into another episode of We Need to Talk About, where I talk about the movies that I enjoy and want to discuss. And today, like I already said, we are talking about the Bikeriders. Now, a little bit of background before we get into the nitty gritty of this. One, this was my number 2 most anticipated movie of the year. It was one of my top 10 most anticipated movies of last year. So the anticipation was high, to say the least. Before we get into my review, first off, subscribe. Do it. I'm doing videos like this every week. Want to grow the channel. Appreciate y'all for watching. If you like it, you want more, subscribe down below. And I'm going to throw this out there again. The same thing I did in my Inside Out review. I did a review for Hitman, the Glenn Powell feature on Netflix. Nobody watched it, so go watch it. It's a good one. I enjoyed making it. It's a good movie that I enjoyed. You should watch the review. Go do that. It'll be linked down below in the description. But let's get in. Let's not waste any more time. I'm going to read the synopsis, then get into my thoughts. After a chance encounter at a local bar, strong-willed Kathy is drawn to Benny, the newest member of Midwestern motorcycle club, the Vandals, led by enigmatic Johnny. Much like the country around it, the club begins to evolve, transforming from a gathering place for local outsiders into a dangerous underworld of violence, forcing Benny to choose between Kathy and his loyalty to the club. So like I said, when I gave the background on this was my number 2 most anticipated movie of the year behind Dune Part 2. It was a film that I was highly anticipating last year, was very disappointed when 20th Century said, oh yeah, we're just not going to release this anymore. And then Focus Features picked it up, thankfully, and it was released. Everything from the cast, the premise, the trailers drew me in. Now, I am someone, I don't know if you can tell, I'm not a biker by any means, but I am someone that has always been interested in that culture. You know, I love the show Sons of Anarchy, and I've loved movies that revolve around motorcycles. Like this is a culture and a period of time that I have always been interested in. So therefore, I was drawn to this movie, maybe more than other people. So I just want to set that foundation. I loved this movie. I gave it a 96 out of 100 on my scale, only behind my number 1 most anticipated movie of the year, Dune Part 2. Let's break this down piece by piece. First things first, and the thing that everyone is praising, and I'm going to praise as well, the overall aesthetic of the movie, everything from the costume design to the set design, all of the technical here is flawless. There are no notes for me. The costume design, as we travel through years and travel through decades of time, you watch it shift and change as our characters change. I thought that was fantastic. The set design is as good as you could want from a period piece like this. It was absolutely fantastic. The sound design, I think, is one of the most important parts of this movie, because if you're going to make a movie about motorcycles, motorcycle clubs, and motorcycle culture, the sound design needs to work. And the sound design here was fantastic. And, you know, visual effects, great. Not a lot of visual effects here, but whatever there was really good. And the cinematography is fantastic as well. This film is an experience, if anything, and it is a time capsule of a time in this country that has since passed. And the grimy aesthetic, you know, everything from the film grain on the screen to just all of the technical from start to finish, it was really good. Like I said, it is like peering through a peephole into a different time in history, and I think that Jeff Nichols had a vision. Obviously, this was kind of one of his babies. He found the original photo book called The Bikeriders, and made a movie off of a photo book. Like, that's kind of crazy and out there. And you could tell that he was thoroughly invested in the vision to make it look as good as it did and sound as good as it did. This, you could tell that from Jeff Nichols, this was his baby. and he executed it really well. So I'm just going to go right into the direction. Like, Jeff Nichols had a clear cut vision here, and he executed it perfectly. Like, he did. I could tell how deeply invested he was in this story and these characters, and how invested he was in taking that book and making it real life, which the book is real life, but like making a real life story out of the book, if that makes sense. It looks great. It sounds great. Everything involved, like all the technical and everything, like I've already touched on, is fantastic. And that is all due to the direction and vision of Jeff Nichols. It's fantastic. It's very, very well thought out, constructed, and put together. And I loved that. I thought it was really good. Probably my favorite part of the movie is the performances. I'm going to talk about Austin Butler first because, and we'll get more into this in the writing, it's not really Austin Butler's movie, if that makes sense. Like, it all centers around Austin Butler's character, but he's kind of the man in the middle. This movie really is a story about Kathy, played by Jodie Comer, and Johnny, played by Tom Hardy. That's really what this movie is about. Austin Butler doesn't really have like that many lines in this movie. He kind of just smolders around throughout the runtime, and it works because he is a good-looking gentleman, and he can pull that off. And the moments that he does get, he does very well. It's Austin Butler. We already know that he is a star in the making, if not already a star. So he's great. But I want to take a second to really give my props and talk about Tom Hardy and, most importantly, Jodie Comer. I think Tom Hardy's really good here. He kind of is the heart and soul of this story, if that makes sense. And we are kind of traveling with him. Like, Jodie Comer is our narrator throughout the story. So we are living through her, but she's kind of narrating Johnny's story, if that makes sense. Like, she's narrating the history of the club and how the club grew and then its eventual downfall into more of a biker gang than anything. And we are seeing that through the lens of Tom Hardy's character and how he's trying to keep the club afloat and how he's trying to recruit Benny to be the next leader of the club. And I think he's got a very delicate balance between like hardcore biker and also like, you know, emotional kind of character. Because he's the one character in this movie, in the club, that has like a home life and a family and like a job. And that's like kind of a big sticking point when Kathy's talking about Johnny. Like, he's not like the others. He has a job, he has a family, he has kids. Like, he just loves riding and he loves the club. And so he's probably got the most dimension to his character besides Kathy, Jodie Comer's character, in the club. And it really is following his story from start to finish. And he, like I said, brought a very good, delicate balance between hardcore biker and delicate kind of family man that just wants to ride with his friends. Like that, like he did really well. But Jodie Comer is the star here. She is absolutely fantastic. Like her, if it's not for her, I don't think this movie is as good, honestly. She is the audience. She is the narrator. She is the guiding force in this story. She is the one that is telling us everything that we need to know. And she's doing it. She's funny. Like, her character is like funny. The way she delivers lines is great. But she also has her emotional moments and her very deep moments, very dramatic moments that I think were fantastic. She's the best part of this movie from top to bottom. Like, if I had to pin one reason why you should watch this movie, Jodie Comer's performance. That's why you should watch this movie. She carries this from start to finish, and she is absolutely brilliant in this movie. I loved her. I thought she was fantastic. And the rest of the supporting cast is great. They play the roles they need to play. Michael Shannon's all right. I like Mike Faist. I kind of wish he was in it more, but he plays the role that he needs to play. Like, it is our core trio. They are the ones that we're following. And then you've got the supporting cast. And I think the supporting cast is great. They all play the part that they need to play, and they play it well. I love the performances here. It's some of my favorite parts of the movie as a whole. All right, let's get into the brass tacks now. Let's get into the writing, because this is, I think, the biggest point of contention for most people on whether or not it is a good movie or a bad movie. I think this is actually a relatively divisive movie, not in terms of, like, subject matter or things like that, but just in terms of if it's good or not. I think everyone can appreciate the technical aspects of it and some of the performances, but I think when you really get down to the meat and potatoes of it, is the story good? Is it not? Is it slow? Is it boring? Is it thrilling? Is it not? That's been the biggest point of contention throughout the cycle of this movie coming out. As someone that has been thoroughly interested in biker culture, like I said, like Sons of Anarchy, like shows like that, has always been interested in that culture, it worked for me. I loved it. I loved watching the formation of the club and the eventual downfall leading into more of violence and gang type activity. Like, that was all very interesting to me. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed just being engrossed in the world, meeting the characters, and watching the evolution of the club itself. But also, in my opinion, there is a very interesting story here. Jeremy Johns, I watched his review before I'm recording mine, and he described it perfectly. It is a love triangle between Benny, Kathy, and his love for riding. And his love for riding is personified in Johnny's character, because Johnny is a father figure to him, and he is also the leader of the biker club that he loves. It is his purpose. Like, Benny says in the movie, I never have asked anyone for anything. All I want is to ride. That's what he cares about. That is the only place that he feels whole, that he feels emotion. Benny is a character that is very reserved in this movie. He does not show emotion, and Kathy even says it in parts of dialogue, that he didn't even cry when his father died. He does not show emotion. He only ever shows any ounce of emotion when he's riding. And I think that this love triangle between Kathy does not want him to ride. Like, Kathy thinks he's going to kill himself on that bike. And Johnny wants him to be the next leader of the club, wants him to be the next him. And that also means, like, you're going to ride forever. And this is, you're going to take over what you're truly passionate about. And that balance and that kind of tug of war between your wife, Kathy, and your absolute love of riding and the club and your loyalty of the club, that tug of war plays throughout the entire movie. And it is, in its own way, very thrilling and very impactful and very tense. And I was fully invested in watching these relationships ebb and flow and form and go, and the different waves of emotions. Like, I was fully invested in these characters and where they were going to end up, and also where the club was going to end up. I think a lot of people will have issues with the pacing. There is a lot of moments of just hanging out and telling stories and talking about bikes. But I think that adds an element to this that is really important. You are seeing these conversations, you're seeing these interactions between club members, and you're watching this club really flourish and grow, and these friendships and relationships really start to become more meaningful. And so when we get to the end of the movie and we find out what has happened to all of the characters at the end, like, we are legitimately invested in not just our core three, but you're invested in every original member of the club. And I think that's really good writing. Like, people can complain that it's slow, but it's those moments that really invest you in not just our core three, but in the entirety of the club. And I really like that. I did. I thought this was a very intimate look at a motorcycle club and the very eclectic group of members in the club, and how at the core it really is a story about our three main characters, and how those decisions of those three really affect the lifeblood of the club itself. I mean, I don't really know what much more I can say about that. Like, it's I think really very incredibly well written. It is. And you can tell that it is a labor of love from Jeff Nichols, and that he really, really, really loves this story and what he was making. And I loved it too. I thought it was fantastic. That's where I'm going to leave it. Go watch this movie. I'm sure when the box office report comes out on Monday, it will not have done very well at the box office. It might. I don't know. Maybe people are just going to see the Nosferatu trailer and then watching the movie afterwards. And hey, that's great. I saw the Nosferatu trailer. I thought it looked great. But like, give this one a shot. I don't think it's been publicized that well or marketed that well. It's Focus Features. They're not like the biggest distribution company in the world, so I don't think they have like the most giant budgets in the world. This one is worth the watch, though. I think if you take what I said about the writing and kind of think about it that way, I think you'll get something out of it, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Go down below in the comments if you're one of the few that has seen the Bikeriders so far. Let me know. What'd you think? Did you like it? Did you hate it? If you haven't seen it already, I'm just going to give you a warning. The comments are spoiler territory, so don't look at the comments if you don't want to be spoiled. We will talk spoilers in the comments. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I appreciate you all so much for taking the time to watch the video. It really does mean the absolute world. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the things you do on YouTube. Again, go check out my Hitman review. I linked it down below in the description. Don't miss out. It's a good review. I appreciate it. Go watch the Bikeriders. It really is a good time. And follow me on social media. All linked down below in the description. All right. That is it. I appreciate y'all. I'm telling you, I implore you, go watch the Bikeriders. It really is that good. I really enjoyed it. I hope you all have a good rest of your day. We'll see you in the next video.